Hello, listeners near and far, great and small, young and today in particular, old. Welcome back to our humble podcast. Here on the Hammerbarn Project, we pride ourselves on two things, I think. One is barking down episodes of the Australian children's television program Bluey, and the other, we respect our elders. So in the spirit of that second one, Frank, how are you today?
Well, I was waiting for it. As soon as you said old, I was like, he's going to throw it to me in 3, 2, 1. You know how
even before I got to the end of it, you see, that's the problem.
You know how I know this? Because I'm old and experienced.
I see, yes.
Wisdom, the wisdom of age.
That's right.
Well, yes, and I left him till last because part of respecting elders is disrespecting juniors. Martin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
You scum.
You damn whippersnapper.
I'm such a punk.
You are, punk scum.
Oh, I want to see Punk Marty now. Spiky hair, ripped jean jacket. Like
I'm going out to the library.
To respect you more. That's the problem.
This episode of the Hammerbarn Project is called We Canoe.
But yeah, welcome. Let's do a thing that we do where we talk about this amazing show.
No, I'm not
Marty's
doing
got
it.
other ideas.
Now look at the younger generation.
One joke about Marty being a junior punk, and now we're stuck
he's
with
just
him.
a rebel.
I'll just be on my phone.
What's that? Is that the wireless?
A modern day punk. They're the worst kind. But here we are. Should we throw to the young punk and see if he's got any?
Yeah, let's see what he's got.
Let's see what he's got in the
I'll
way
teach
of
you guys
bare
some
bones.
things.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode, it tries to distract with discussions of relationships between generations and responsibilities and Lord of the Rings references. But I think we all really know that the core of this episode is a clear homage to the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
Wow, he's back.
Predator.
Excellent.
That's 2 in a row now. So, but this one I've had in the bag for a while.
Yeah,
Because you watch that episode and you're like, there's mud, there's chasing,
Yeah.
there's fear for your existence as you run away from a clearly unstoppable force.
Oh, this.
Which means that we're talking about
This episode of Blue is called. I forget. Oh wait, I mean Grandad.
Grandad. This is. I mean, I say this every time, but this is really top tier.
Yeah.
it's a cracker.
That tier is pretty massive.
Tier is the word.
It's a plateau more than anything else of excellent Bluey episodes. But what is this episode really about? Mum and Bluey and Bingo are going to Grandad's house. He's meant to be resting. He is not. There is a great chase where they and Chili is continually trying to convince Grandad that he should be resting. And also Bluey needs convincing that she should eat her pumpkin seeds. And ultimately they do. They see the value in these things, in taking other people's advice and taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, but can we talk about the real star of this episode, please?
Wow. He's coming in
I'm just
early.
coming
He's dug himself.
If we're not talking about Maynard, then I'm not here.
Yeah, okay.
Because he is just... my wife, Ali, was originally going to join us for this recording at one point. This is one of...
Love you, Ali.
You talk about top tier. This is easily one of her favorite two episodes. She would tell you that. And I'm pretty sure it's because Maynard.
Yep.
You know, every time we would go out for dinner, and if her sibling, she doesn't eat fish, but her siblings often eat fish. You know, we go to the beach, get fish and chips or whatever, and she'll look at a piece of fish and go, oh, yeah, that's a barra.
So many good quotes.
Any reference to alien? Is it aliens? She just uses them all.
Yeah, man. Well,
I don't think he has a dud line, really.
Every
does
line.
it? Every single one's a cracker.
Line.
Yeah. I love
Coming
when
to
he's... I mean, if we're going to Maynard, let's triple down on Maynard.
Yeah,
Just talk
it.
Maynard. We're there now. But like, I saw you, the peek behind the curtain, we did watch this episode just before we started recording. But I saw you awaiting the moment where, Marty, I saw you waiting for when Chili comes in and her opening, first line instead of "Hello, Maynard" is
"Can it, Maynard?"
Chili, what are you doing here? Can it, Maynard? And you can hear him in the background. Did you have a haircut or something? Like trying to stall.
I think I love that line because you don't need to know anything more about their relationship. It tells the whole story.
She knows.
It tells the fact that Maynard's been around their house forever.
Yep.
He's basically a member of the family.
Yeah.
His dad's maybe a little bit
kooky friend.
Kooky friend who's just always hanging out and borrowing stuff and maybe not bringing it back. And he's getting up to trouble with her dad.
If Dad's not at home, he's at Maynard's.
He's at Maynard's house.
Yeah,
So,
and somehow they've communicated because of what's going on. It's not malicious, and there's no animosity between the two. They're part of the family, but she knows that he knows that she knows that he knows that he's covering something. And there's a bigger. Rather than saying hello, like hellos don't even need to be done because they're family, essentially. Yeah. But what needs to, there's no pretending. Straight into it. Where are my kids? Where's my dad? And I love when he's there on the deck.
We're cooked.
Yes, that's another tells you everything you need to know about the history of Mort and Maynard. And when the moment she says, "Oh, is that a bite?" He just goes, "Oh, well, we're cooked now," and it tells you everything you need to know about that relationship has history. Their friendship has history because he knows enough about Maynard to know that the fish they're done.
And I love Chili's reaction to that as well because she knows she's got him as soon as she says, "Oh, that could be a bite." She's just following through. She knows that he's already completely stuck in this part of it.
And that's almost
could be a barra. Oh yeah, could be a barra.
And that's almost like a connection moment again between Chili and her dad because they both know the same things about Maynard. It's this really cool trinity of knowledge about each other and history in their relationship.
Well, only an old fool would ignore that.
So many good Maynard lines.
Just saying it towards the closed door and just kind of leaning back.
Now I just can't unsee Chili as the predator now. I just,
I don't know the music for that one. I was about to go dun, 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 but that's different.
You can use it for anything.
It's close enough, especially when they're just getting down in the dirt and doing the army style camouflage.
And then when she arrives at that same scene afterwards, the stop and the music cuts out, and she just gets the glint in her eyes, and like the little panpipe sort of goes.
And the fact that fits so seamlessly into the soundtrack and into the music because I mean the music we could do a whole episode on its own. Joff always brings it to the table.
Yeah, but this one especially.
The banjo, there's even a person, I don't know who it is, it might be Joff, in the mix going do it because there's little percussive things and then even a person going and the harmonica playing's really great and the banjo and it's so fun, it's so bush bashy, it's so it just
and this episode features twice on the dance mode album, obviously for this song, but then the yesterday jingle at the end, which is that real, people say that things pull on their heartstrings. This one just rips them clean out. Let's be honest. It's just, it's one of those. It's that typical Bluey thing where you know what's happening, you get what the moral of the story is, even halfway through the episode, and then there's that little stinger in the last 8 seconds of it, and you're
just when you think it can't get any more beautiful, they're you ain't seen nothing yet,
and then they send you out into the world entirely
vulnerable. Bye. Enjoy your day at work.
Okay, try and stop crying. Okay, bye.
Thanks for
bye.
Thanks for helping. I just look like a sook.
The kids are like, let's watch it again. The parents are like, no, I can't do it.
I need to rehydrate. You remember when we got to speak to Joff Bush, our friend Joff Bush that we spoke to?
We're doing this thing again.
Yeah, why not? we milked it with Joe.
You got to tell him about how you know what the spotted Frenchman is,
I did get to tell Joff a lot of stuff about myself.
Yeah, you did.
And the instruments that I own. No, but he did let us in on the end of that soundtrack with the it was him and Pluto Jones. I looked into Pluto Jones. I forgot that there was a Pluto Jones track that came out in like the 2000s, I think, and Ferg and I used to love it. It was Eject. It was I got to eject, jack. I'm sick of these sad songs. But anyway, he's a really cool guy, and I think his actual name, he's credited in the credits as Lachlan Nicholson. So, and I think in our interview with Joff, remember how we interviewed Joff? But he actually called him Latch at one point because his name's Lachlan, so I assume that's another nickname. But professionally, he goes by Pluto Jones, and they did that. That was a collaboration, and that's both of their voices at the end there, sort of mixed into each other, and it's really just to really sweeten up that last moment of the app.
Amazing.
But we could also talk about the music at the very start, because you get the...
I'd love to go back to the start. We did get pretty Maynard. We went,
Guilty.
We're Maynard mad, so we had to. But go on.
Yeah, well, just even they do the traditional...
yes, the little sting from the theme.
Yes, that's right. With the banjos,
yeah.
And it's that beautiful scene where it's just kind of like dry outback past the kangaroo,
and you just straight away. But it's joyous because there's a little bit of banjo, a little bit of bush joy,
and then potentially my favorite. Well, there's so many favorite moments of this episode,
right?
Really, isn't it? You've got the first sequence where it's like, got to eat your pumpkin seeds.
I love in their lunch boxes.
They've got the little
seaweed crackers.
Yes.
I like those are seaweed crackers. They're great.
And like some little purple grapes, but like a little snack box.
Little seaweed rice crackers.
Oh man, I'm forever making snack boxes.
Oh boy.
50% of my life is making snack boxes.
50% of my life. 50% of them eaten.
Yeah, that's right.
And 50% of my life is bugging Nora to see if I can have some of the snacks from her snack box that Erin made her. Wow, Nora, you really went to town in your snack box. Now, stop putting the good fruit in there. And Uncle Brenny will stop helping.
But we do have this moment of like, I love Bingo's in the chair and she's just like, she gets up halfway and then she gets up even more because like, can we go in the canoe?
Right.
And like pulling against the straps, which is so fun. She's so excited about that idea. No, can't. Granddad's had heartworm, which is
real disappointed.
Which is funny because it's a dog.
Yeah, it's a dog ailment. Yeah. I love that.
And then it's like he has to rest and then just pull up and he's just doing the most
stump fest.
Yeah, he's
get the stump out.
Personal stump fest.
Oh no, Dad! What are you doing? Such a great delivery from Chile.
So good. And it's like, Struth, run, kids!
It's so boom, boom, boom. You're in the fun and the action of it immediately.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those. There's a few episodes of Bluey that are like this. That like they could have cut it after that, and then they could have been inside having a cup of tea, and the story could have gone in an entirely different way.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that becomes the theme of the story. Like, so you laughed so hard because that idea in itself is so funny, and then they just kind of unpack it in different ways. Like the other one that it comes to, there's a few other episodes which I can't talk about because we haven't done them yet. But one of the ones, there you go, roll it up. But one of the ones we have done is the Christmas episode, where it's like, I accept you're sorry.
Yes.
That line is funny enough in and of itself, but then the whole episode becomes about accepting sorry. But so that's what I just think about, is just like, oh man, that's so hilarious in and of itself. And then we just progressively unpack that.
Yeah.
Oh, Struth, run, kids. That's what it is. It's Struth, which is great.
Yeah, you're right.
He's just Mort has the perfect voice.
Yes.
It's just the right.
Speaking of
amount of Australian.
Laurie Newman is
the
the voice actor. I don't know if you guys found out anything more about him, but he's on IMDb as just that a sole acting credit, I think. From when I looked up, I couldn't find him in anything else, and it's just he's obviously a talented performer and he's got a great voice. So I wonder, maybe my research skills aren't up to snuff, but I'd love to find out if he'd done anything else. But
what
a fine
person.
Maybe, very possibly. Yeah.
But can we talk about the other main star? There it is.
You already pulled this one out.
Yeah. It's not even a person so much as it is an object. that floats on the water.
Uh-huh.
We canoe.
Oh, man.
Canoe.
I love
Has
that.
anyone, since this episode's aired, has anyone looked at a canoe and just said it properly? Because I don't think it's a thing.
Well, that is saying it probably now. But no, I do love that Bingo is just stuck on that. Like
the whole thing.
The whole
Canoe
thing
is her focal point.
Yeah.
And even to the point when they're getting away and Chili is catching up with her Olympic level swimming, which is animated so wonderfully. Even Bluey's like, oh, what do we do?
Yep.
But Bingo has not dropped the ball. She's just got laser focus.
I'm here to canoe.
I know what we do. We canoe. And she rallies Bluey in that moment, which is a really cool, powerful moment for Bingo. And then Bluey's like, yeah, canoe. And I can't because of my thumbs. So many little throwbacks to even to the point where the throwbacks are like really close together. Like, don't you ever quit?
Yeah.
And then like only a couple of lines later, it's like, don't you ever quit? And it just works so well.
I did love how, as the kids are going to jump in the canoe, they all grab their
life jackets.
life jackets.
Yes.
I'm like, that's deliberate. And I feel like perhaps maybe in the original animation it wasn't there. And then the legal people have come along and just gone, add that in, please. And they're like, no, that's fair.
I don't know. I reckon they're probably they're pretty good at being on top of that sort of stuff. But I love that it's like Mort grabs his and jumps in. He's the adult, and but I love that the kids have got theirs on before they're even off the jetty, which is like it's just
They
nice.
know.
It's just good. And then later when they're swimming because it's safe and they're under supervision.
Yeah.
Bingo's got hers and Bluey doesn't, and that's just even
another in that
really
moment,
nice moment
when like Bluey just runs off the jetty and jumps straight in. Bingo actually sort of climbs down, and that's
so
just that
many little
thing.
things.
You just go, that's the age difference of the girls right there in a few seconds of animation.
Oh boy! And like animation, all those little bits that the characters are doing and everything, it's all beautiful. And I still like it would still be remiss of us to forget like the backgrounds and the actual art of the scene building in this, because there's a tractor that doesn't have any front wheels on it. It's up on like Besser blocks, and then there's the corrugated iron water tank that's kind of all rusty, and just the bush. The actual artwork there.
I love the ones with the trees that have that really thick bark. It's like a real dark. The trees are that sort of typical gum tree color, very light brown, very pale. But then they've got that real thick, almost charcoal colored bark on the front of them, sort of at the base. I was like, oh, it's beautiful.
The fences, the kangaroo sign, the stump itself, like I'm there. It's just a masterclass.
The inside of Mort's little cupboard, there was a cobweb in the corner. There was a little hat there. There was a fishing lure in the corner.
Did you notice something important in the background?
Yes, I did.
Something that
I know.
See, I never noticed. I rely on you guys for this.
It's in the chase scene.
Yeah, so it's down by the creek where
we are, of course. Speaking of dogs that happen to be long.
No.
I don't think
there is
long
one
dog
in this.
spotting.
No.
Oh, right.
I don't think there is one.
Well, then school me. What are we talking about?
Chili has carved her name into one of the
trees. Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
No, I have the wiki tell me about that. I didn't notice it myself. I will confess.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah. I didn't notice any long dogs. So I'm getting better, but there might still be one.
It's a very fast-paced episode.
That's true. Could well be in Maynard's sort of fish cabinet or something like that. But the reason we should talk about the reason why we decided to do this episode.
Yes, please do.
Because Matthew Height got onto us and said, he was rewatching Grandad, and he was wondering if we, thinking about that Lord of the Rings moment where they're all hiding under the tree, which is pretty clearly an homage, the way that the tree's laid out and all those sorts of things.
Under the roots of it,
when we read that email, we basically quoted the entire episode. Like we've just done, we're like, we should probably do that episode.
We're going to address
we got to talk about that.
We're just we'll save it for the actual episode.
Yeah.
So thank you for getting us excited about the episode.
But there is that great little sequence where they're sitting under the tree, and what is that?
I know what to do. I didn't hear any of that. And she's like right up in his ear.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's really
and
good.
his delivery of it. I didn't hear any of it. It's so matter of fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. that was a good replication of it.
It
Right?
was.
I like it.
And just the she does that liar roll and she throws the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Bingo's just sort of sitting there giggling to herself.
Yeah, it's all just so
like,
fun.
It's also
She's probably thinking about canoes.
And then they have finding the food in case you need some food.
Yeah.
All these
Now-
the Vietnam.
That's what I was going to say.
tactics
That's what
and
they're
all that.
implying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That he was in the service.
I could have used you too
in the
to be in the
jungle.
jungle, you know.
Yeah.
And he's even got the giggle hat on. I learned that it can be called a giggle hat by some. I learned that from our friend Jessie.
I was going to say
when we did Army and she
expert.
came in and gave us her
there
theory
you
on
go.
the possible Victoria Cross recipient to back in the ancestral tree of the healer family somewhere. Mysteries still yet to be resolved there. I think.
TBA. Yeah.
But no, he was definitely an old digger. I reckon, our Mort.
And then we have the starting to unpack. Well, we've had the opening sequence where they're in the car and talking about the pumpkin seeds. And then we have Mort bringing up the pumpkin seeds and the way he says it. And that rings true very much for parents.
Yep.
Because you find yourself saying things your parents said, even though you don't even really mean it. Or you're like, why am I saying that thing? That's something my dad or my mum would say. It's like, do I actually believe in the thing that stands behind that?
And it's just after he's had his spell about,
His thumbs.
I'm supposed to like rest, but it should be up to me. They're my thumbs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Oh, you've got to eat your pumpkin seeds, though."
Yeah.
And Blue says, "Shouldn't it be up to me?" Like,
And you see his face go,
feeds exactly what. Yeah, that's such a funny moment where it kind of like the music kind of like stops and
he has to think about
it just on his face, and he's just like, "Oh, well, that shuts me up." I don't know what to say, and then I think that's the moment where Chili finds him and just
in,
there you are. And just all Chili's lines like, nobody knows this bush better than me. Yeah, and she's right, she grew up here. And just Chili's so badass in this.
Yeah.
She really is. Because she sort of, you remember she's a mum. She's got this sort of square sort of shape to her. But then she's like an athlete.
She's still got it.
So hardcore.
And what I love in the animation is whenever she's running, she's leaning forward like a good runner would, whereas Mort is, sort of arching
Flailing
back because his stomach is leading the way type thing.
And
So
all the sort of like
panting,
narrowing of the eyes, and the
Ears
smelling,
back.
and the finding the little evidence on the little hairs on the. She's just on the ball. It's so cool, and just and like you said before, the panpipes that kind of come in during that. It's all so action packed, and it's also just a really relevant theme, the idea of what you say to young people that you love. And then I think about that sometimes, like it's hard if I don't know a person who I'm not super proud of, like the way I would sometimes look at an elderly driver or someone on the road and just think, should we be asking questions about that and stuff like that? But then I think about, well, what am I going to be like when I'm older? Like, am I going to take so kindly to the friendly and loving suggestions that maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I can't do all the things I used to be able to do. So it's like, it's a really nice episode of looking at things from both perspectives, and then giving things up, and like, can you? I
picked this up as a really interesting. This is really an adults telling a story to adults, type
right
narrative, because the kids are along for the ride, sure, and they're there to learn about. Okay, let's eat pumpkin seeds because Mum thinks it's a good idea, but it is this thing of getting to a point in your life where you have kids and you take care of your kids, but you also seem to be now responsible for taking care of your parents. And it's such an interesting shift, because so you're doing both roles at the same time. In both generational ways, and we kind of get that through this episode. Is like, and that's the whole dialogue, is like they both don't think they have to be doing something that Chili says they should be doing. So just that whole thing of
it's
that
also
switch.
it's also the point though that Chili, it's not about like Chili having control. Is Chili saying, I still need him?
Yeah.
It's that sort of not trying to be the boss of him, but just going, I need him to stick around because this heartworm could be, pretty bad for him. And I don't know about you guys, but my mum in particular is sort of, and even Ali's mum to probably a more extent, we're having those conversations, myself and Ali, just going, what are we going to do in a few years?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. And so that part really
it
resonates.
Must be so hard. It's a time that really needs empathy and understanding and patience because, if you look at it from that angle, like I feel this episode is good at doing, like it's hard to give things up and it's hard to feel like somebody's telling you like even when what they're saying comes from a place of love and common sense. Well, no, that's a too harsher term, but just practicality, logic. I guess. It's if it's something that you kind of know about yourself, you're like, well, hang on, what? It's always hard to take that.
Mort doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to go into a retirement village very easily. Do you know what I mean?
It's very classic masculine and more of a, I'd say, country feel. Of just definitely. No, I've been doing this for my whole life. Right. I've been doing everything with my hands of my own, I'll just keep on going. I'll just keep on doing it. I don't
keep on trucking. Yeah.
Just keep on trucking.
It is tough. It's a tough thing. Yeah.
On a slightly happier note, let's put ourselves in the shoes of Bluey and Bingo. Any Grandad stories from anyone that you want to share?
That's a good one.
I'll kick it off to give you guys some thinking time. Okay. I'm half Spanish, so I had my very, very Australian grandpa who reminded me a lot of Mort. He was a digger as well. Perhaps not as physically active by the time I had sort of cognitive memories of him, but he was that quiet, sort of unassuming guy who just always had something smart to say when there was something going on. He's a lovely man. And then on my Spanish side, big, tall, 7 foot, skinny, lanky Spanish papa, as we called him. And he was, I have memories, and there's actually photos somewhere in the archives of my mum's house of him putting me and my sister in a wheelbarrow and just going around the lemon tree out the back of their place. And I'm like, that was just so much fun. And even years later, long after he's passed, we're going over there to help. He was a collector. You look at this room and you go, oh, Frank's a collector. He's got all these toys. He had that, but he worked with his hands. He was an engineer by trade. He had every type of screw, nut, and bolt you could imagine, meticulously organized. So I need this gauge bolt, and it's got to be this color, and it's got to be brass. Oh, they're with all the other ones that are exactly like that in a little plastic container.
Plastic container or reused jar. That's what it was.
And it was a case of, he got between me and my my sister and my cousins, he had, be careful, 7 grandkids. Yeah, let's go with 7. And going around there, emptying out his shed, we all got to take home a brand new cordless drill because he had that many to basically get rid of.
Thanks, Grandad.
So look, and gentle giant, but also, the sort of guy, I remember seeing him dance that, it's a bit like Captain America in Endgame. He's just doing the slow dance with my yaya and stuff. And so just absolutely wonderful memories like that. He's, special guy.
Yeah, my mum's dad, he's no longer with us, but he was from Belfast, and so as a kid, it was very difficult to understand what he was saying because his Belfast accent was so thick. And he loved poetry, and he knew like The Man from Snowy River and Clancy Over the Overflow back to front.
Yeah, nice.
And I've learned a bit of Man from Snowy River. It's such a beautiful poem. I still can't do the whole thing, but I intend to one day in his memory.
Nice.
But
his accent?
Speaking of his accent, he did have a little, whenever I'm not very good at picking regional Irish accents, but if somebody walks in the room with a Belfast accent, because of Grampy, I can, you're from Belfast. And he used to have a little phrase book. And there was one, if I ever need to lock into a Belfast accent, there was a phrase book, and there was this one phrase that he used to say, and it was like, because if you're from the south of Ireland, it's really very round like that, like Dave Callan, the comedian, very soft. That's sort of like a Cork accent, I think. Very soft. And then the further north you get, the sharper it gets until you're like doing the classic fiddly-dee-dee potatoes. But sorry, all my Irish brothers and sisters. But he had a phrase that he used to say, and it was, always remember to forget the times that made you sad, but never forget to remember the times that made you glad. And those vowel sounds are real Belfast. Anyone from Belfast is going, no, it's not.
Not even close.
but yeah, so apologies to anyone who actually knows what they're talking about. But God rest his soul. My dad's dad is still with us. He's mid to late 90s now. And oh my gosh, if I start with stories with him, he's the reason I'm a tinkerer. He's the reason I love science. He's the reason I'm just like, well, no, there could be a more imaginative mechanical solution for that. That's all from my grampy John.
So he's a big old nerd.
His name's John Williams, not that John Williams. But no, he. Okay. Oh, a quick story. He told me growing up in like Oxford, I think in England, you know how all the townhouses, they were all connected and everything, and they'd all face each other across these narrow streets. Yeah. And he drew me a diagram of this thing that he used to do. He used to get because all the doors had knockers on them for the postman, and there were narrow streets that no cars went down because it was like the 30s
mining town,
and in the back streets. And he'd get like a bit of fishing line, and they'd tie it from one door knocker, put a little bit of slack across the street, and tie it to the other door knocker, then knock on one door and run away and hide and watch. And the person would open the door, which would and they all, of course, front doors open inwards.
Yeah,
it would remove the slack from the line and lift the other door knocker across the road. And they'd look around, no one was there. They'd shut the door,
and he would knock the other
person, and they'd lift that, and they could be by gone for however long. He told me that story when I was younger, and I just think that's
amazing.
That's a hero.
Meanwhile, the postie comes past on his bike and gets decapitated by the fishing line across the street.
That's why you couldn't be able to get away with that today. I don't think there'd be too many Uber Eats going past.
My grandparents, I think I resonate with both your stories of just like, sheds full of stuff. Both of them were makers of things. My Dutch grandfather, he helped make some of the statues that are in the fountain in the center of town.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
He helped with the molds and things. He used to work, did springs for carriages, stuff like that.
Mm.
Oh, actually, no, I've got a story for him. And I've also my Australian, my mum's side grandfather. He built his own house.
Yeah.
So he was a guy who, he just made things. Had a massive
Kids
tool
today.
shed. They don't understand that, how a thousandth of an inch. They don't deal with those sorts of tolerances. But actually, no, I will tell you the story I remember is from Ali's grandfather, because this is a good one. He's a cyclist. He did a lot of bike riding. He even rode to Perth from Adelaide. And
that's like 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah, very.
So that's
long
like,
come on, Brendan. How many states in America is that? From where to where?
What's that? Like 1,600 miles or 1,800 miles or something? How many? That's like what? Like that's a lot of.
It's a long way.
That's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of driving.
Yeah. So, and the story he has is of, obviously he's loaded up. He's got his food. He's got his. I think they did car stops and stuff along the way, but he's got his camping gear, and so he's riding along in the north of Adelaide or something. And another cyclist comes up alongside him and is like, man, you're loaded up. Where are you all heading off to? He's like, oh, I'm off to Perth. And he just hears this sound. He looks around and the other guy's fallen off his bike.
In shock or laughing? Or?
Yeah, probably in shock.
It's just, well, I give up.
Well, my ride is pointless.
I was proud of myself just coming back from the shop.
I will say, though, for grandpa things, the lines, "That's the way, Bingo," and "Good one, Bluey," are classic grandpa type lines.
Nice.
I especially
when
like
he's
the
sitting
way
on the jetty and
that's it. I especially like the way he says bingo. There's something bingo.
Yeah.
Go. There's an emphasis on the go. It's just
perfect voice.
But talking about on the jetty, I think we have to get it, don't we?
Oh,
I mean, we've all seen it before, but even when we watch it just before recording this, we all just like exhaled at the end and just went, don't cry in front of the boys. It's just delightful.
Oh boy.
And it even gets Naomi every time.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah. I don't know if she's, she mentions it every time. I like with kids, whenever you're reading a story or something, there'll be things that they do every time. They'll have to point out something every time or, like, oh, there's a cow there or there, blah, blah, blah. And you'll have to do it every time. Every time we watch that episode, she's like, look, Chili's small.
Yeah.
Small.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if she's understands the fact that this is going backwards in time or we're remembering or something like that. But you can tell it's got meaning and it's intriguing and it's telling, there's some emotion that's coming through there.
And I reckon those are the moments that the music really like I of course it goes without saying, of course, but I can just remember being younger and moments really hitting me because of the music and not really, and then I'd revisit it in later life and go, wow, this is a really stirring moment for reasons that I wouldn't have understood at the time, but I still remember being moved. And I think that's when what Joff says about the music, like even if they can't articulate what they're noticing and why it's that on some level it is speaking to them, and I really think those are that must be playing a part for Naomi.
Something captivating about that moment.
And if we just for a moment quickly check our inbox. Because we already talked about Matthew, who was kind enough to get us all excited about doing the Grandad episode. And he did actually ask, because on the strength of that Lord of the Rings reference, he actually asked if there are any other or what other big movie references we like in the show or what we would like to see. And can I just say, I've been sitting on this all episode and I think I've been behaving myself because I haven't addressed the elephant in the room.
Oh, here we go.
The elephant in the room is that when we left you, folks, in our last episode, I, Brendan Williams, had been privy to 4 Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, good.
I have now seen 5, and I got to tell you, I'm a happy man. I am so glad it was what it was. No spoilers. But
can you hear the smile on his face, people?
Yeah.
Look at him.
So first of all, it was a story about Indiana Jones played by Harrison Ford. So it was always going to win. But it was so much more. I know all our listeners the world over were wondering. And if you were wondering, then
just going to slowly pull this fader down.
Any indie reference to this whole show is just gold and brilliant. And I'd like to see more. That's my answer. More indie is good indie.
I don't know. I made that very funny sound when Geoff Bush said Ghibli reference.
I haven't cut that out yet. I've been meaning to isolate that. It was so funny.
So I think that's what I'm going to go for. If they know about Ghibli, they should. I want a few more things in there.
Yeah. More Miyazaki.
Some more Miyazaki moments in there.
Nice.
I mean, the big one that would, I think, appease a lot of people is Star Wars.
Yeah.
and there's a billion different ways. And to that point, we were doing something at work where we were like, well, why are there all these devices on this particular part of the network? And you could see the device names. And one of the guys went, what's this TK421 rubbish? And I went, I'm pretty sure that's a Star Wars. I couldn't remember exactly what it was.
Why aren't you at your post?
Yeah, exactly. It's a stormtrooper call sign. So I was proud that I sort of tweaked. It's so something on that level they could do as a real sort of, so that, you know, the big fans would get it. Personally, I want to see, and I'm thinking in my head, some sort of Bluey and Bingo playing dress ups or whatever. And one of them puts on a helmet that looks like the Shredder. Ninja Turtles. That's a really cool way to do a Ninja Turtles reference.
We of course in Frank's toy room. I was admiring your original live action movie shelf over there. Holy moly, Danny in the Sid Vicious t-shirt and everything. Yep. That's so good. I hadn't seen those ones before. Yep. And Shredder is just like, what scale is that? Is that
that's the 1/6 scale?
The 1/6 scale, so enormous.
Not quarter scale, those ones are. So they're massive.
That's a massive figurine. And his face behind the mask and everything
the mask
is just
comes
so
off and he's got all the scars and everything.
Holy moly. It's great. Anyway, sorry.
That
what were we
in
talking
Bluey, we want
more of
that. That one.
Yeah, Shredder mask.
Easily done.
Although,
actually,
you can roll up the newspapers if you need to. But wasn't Chili dressed up as She-Ra from in the fairy tale episode?
Yeah, that's Masters of the Universe. That's not.
I know, but I'm just talking about. No, please.
Yes.
I didn't want to.
No, that is a good one. You're right.
I wasn't connecting those things. I was just talking about you and things in your purview.
And I guess we have had a Transformers reference as well. If you think about it, I'm not allowed to say which.
Where was that at? Which?
I'm not allowed to say.
I'm not allowed to say.
I can't say.
He doesn't want to get.
No, I really don't.
Marty, tell me.
That's not how you're supposed to use it.
Who's got the buttons in front of them, Brendan? I do.
That's really funny. That's like a really evil villain thing to do. To use a rolled up newspaper to torture someone into giving you information that you will then hit them with a newspaper for divulging.
I didn't even know what I meant to do now. No, it's from the Stories episode. Is it called Stories?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. When
Horse.
Winton.
Of course. Yes,
Yeah.
Winton.
Yeah. There we go.
Classic
there we go.
Winton.
Now hit both of us. There we go. Okay, good.
It's going everywhere.
Do we have any credit? Perhaps where it's blue?
Oh,
It better be blue.
that's a good point. I do believe I do because I'm so organized. And hold on.
Every single time. Every single time. He has to edit out like a minute worth of.
I don't want to get it wrong, so I've got it on my phone ready to go.
I'm so organised.
No,
Just edit out the awkward silence.
Every single time he does this, guys.
This is all getting cut out, and we'll go straight to the bit where I say. I'm going to give some credit, where credit's blue, to production manager Vicky Ong.
Hooray!
Thank you so much, Vicky. Vicky is not only the production manager on this episode, but we have Vicky to thank for voicing Snickers' mum in an episode that I'm going to get hit with a newspaper for mentioning. But in oh no, hang on, you can get it ready, but don't do it because it was Baby Race, and we've already talked about Baby Race.
Yeah, we
so that's fair that we
I can't play the sound in reverse. I'm sorry, guys.
So Vicky, thank you so much for managing production. And thank you so much for voicing Snickers' mum in one of the greatest episodes.
Yeah.
And Snickers is one of the greatest characters. And so you should be very proud that you're the mum to a great character such as Snickers. And just thank you so much for the part you play in bringing us this show that everybody loves. Thank you, Vicky.
You may have this credit. It's yours. And it's blue.
It's so blue. Ooh. Well, team, that's another one that we can hold our head up high, knowing that we, I was trying to reference it to the episode, but I've lost it. I may as well give up. What was the episode about again?
Oh, Marty, we're cooked.
I was going to say, was it a Barra, Brendan?
It was, that's
I got it.
I didn't hear
where
any
you
of
can
that.
get some, what, can you get fishing stuff?
Surely you can. You
I
can get
reckon you
everything.
should.
Can it, Brendan?
Can it, Brendan? And just go to Hammerbarn to get some fishing stuff down aisle 300.
Left at Maynard's Shack.
And if you see Chili swimming up behind you, we canoe! Canoe!
I am not going to cut it after the first one.
Really well.
We just all felt like doing it all at once, so we did it.
Created and produced by Frank, Brendan and Marty. You can follow the Hammerbarn Project on facebook.com/HammerbarnProj, at HammerbarnProj on Twitter, or Hammerbarn_project on Instagram. Theme featuring Nibblings, Kaylee, Jade, Ashley and Reese, and PA announcements by brother-in-law, me, Josh. Thanks for listening, and remember to get down to Hammerbarn for cheap shovels.